Mm-hmm. Dave on. Oh, hold on. Just sending the last text. Hey, Dave Buchanan. Hi, Dave. Always. Hi, Dave. Dave and I are tight. Way back. Pretty excited about our next guest. By the way, I know my face looks a little bit better, so I sat down with my friends from Jack Black this week, and they helped me fix my beard. So I'm kind of learning. I'm staying with the beard thing. I had to learn how to clean it and stuff. So thanks to my friends at Jack Black for teaching me and hooking me up. Anyways, the guys that's coming on in a few seconds, Georges Laraque was, when I played, he was heavyweight in the National Hockey League. But for those that know George, he's the furthest thing from a tough guy. He's the biggest guy with the biggest heart, and real fun. I got a rap sheet that I got to go through. I have normally when I intro guys, I make some notes, but I kind of memorize them. And the cool thing that I like with a lot of guys, we had Eric Lindros on, and Ray Bork, and Johnny McClare, and JR are the stats. The stats are crazy off the hook. George obviously wasn't Mike Bossy when it came to scoring, but he did so much more. But he's done so much after his career, which is really super cool. So he's gonna pop on any second. And as I'm doing it, before he gets on, I just want to give you a little bit of George behind the scenes and what he's doing. His hockey career is quick. 13 years, 4 teams, Oilers, Coyotes, Penguins, Habs. He played junior. I played junior against George. And it was Granby Preds in 96. They won the championship. So he was just, he was humongous when he was in junior. There's just this hockey thing I can go on. He got a hat trick in 2000 versus the Kings. I got 5 goals in my career. He got 3 in one game. So you look at his stats, and might not be as impressive. Him around the net back then in a tough era, he was unbelievable. But this is where we get all over the map. And there's Big George jumping on right now. So George, you got to circle the little following thing. So follow me here. Here's his presentation. 2011, he was in the movie Goon. All right? He wrote a book, The Story of NHL's Unlikeliest Tough Guys. He did Battle of the Blades. I was on the same year as George. He was with Annabelle Langlois, again, for charity. And George does a ton of stuff for charity, and that's some of the stuff that we're going to touch on tonight. He wrestled George St. Pierre. He bike raced Quebec champ, a powerhouse of a woman, by the way, Lex Albrecht, up Mount Royal. There's Big Georgie. And then he was hospitalized after the race. He's the owner of a vegan restaurant, radio host on 91.9. Now, hold on, George. I'm still reading your list. This is going to go on like a half hour. Your hockey thing I give 20 seconds to. This is everything else. He's a corner of Iraqi. Did I say that right, George? Iraqi?
Yeah, perfect.
And the really cool thing about that is they take recycled plastic bottles, and they make clothing out of them. If you see George's Instagram, it's always these models wearing the outfits, which are unbelievable. He survived COVID, which we're going to touch on because we're still in COVID, but George had it. And my old trainer, Paul Gagne, this is what we did during COVID. I watched George do breathing exercises with Paul Gagne, who I don't know what was going on there. And most recently did a podcast with Christian Limoges. You're doing a lot of stuff on healthy food, but his last one was on constipation. So I don't know where to start, Big George. We can start on the last night's hockey game. Our buddy Matt Tharch, assistant GM with Tampa, getting the Stanley Cup. Or do you want to go to the constipation? What's your choice?
Let's go to the constipation. You're good.
Did you watch last night?
You should do a stand-up comedy then.
Yeah.
You're a funny guy.
You've done stand-up comedy. He's actually the figure skating show that I did. He brought it around Quebec. He was with the Green Party. There's the list was crazy. I shortened it up. I just like the ones where you were pooping and hospitalized after pooping. The other things were like heavyweight champ, tough guy, superstar, blah, blah, blah. I like bringing them back down to, bring them back down to my size,
Actually, you know what? You should give yourself some credit because You fought guys like me, and you were much smaller. So
I did not fight you. No, I fought guys like you. I did not fight you. We have some questions, George, that we're going to get to in a couple of seconds as we get going. But everyone's like, if you and George fought, who would win? George's fist would win. That's who would win. Funny story. We're in Edmonton. Big George is in Edmonton, and we're in Philadelphia. And we come into to play George, and George is playing right wing, and Todd Fedorik's on our left wing, so they're lined up. And he's like politely asking, Mr. Laraque, can I fight you, please? Can you please punch me in the head a few times just so I can tell my friends?
Well, that's a nice way to not to get the other guy mad, right? He
Yeah.
was so nice when he asked me. So that way you don't want to hurt someone when he asks you politely, right?
Actually, I don't want to jump into the questions already, but I will go through one. DCarp9 sent awesome picture of you smiling as you're about to fight Andrew Peters from Buffalo. Can you remember what you were thinking about? Like, what goes through your head before you're about to fight? Because I went through all the internet and found pictures of you, but you're giggling in every one. You're like, I'm gonna kill this guy.
You would know better than anyone, PJ, that fighting is psychology, right?
Yeah,
so if you smile before a fight, the other guy panics because he's like, what is he smiling about? So they're scared before the fight even starts because they see someone that is overconfident. And like everyone, I worry about every fight. I'm scared too. But the thing is, just the outtake you have before you get into it, it's a mental game. If you win the psychology game when you start a fight, you already win. So often, just with the reaction guys had when I was just smiling, the fight was over. So that was the reason why I was doing it, to show that I was overconfident, even though I was nervous, to hide the fact that I was nervous. Because most guys that do the job are nervous. Doesn't matter how big you are. But it depends how you act while you're into it. That changed the whole perception. So I started doing it, and I saw guys were more afraid, so I just kept doing it. But I was nervous even though I was doing it. It was like, I know people couldn't see it, but I was doing it to play with their heads.
Is there, again, other questions I'll go through? I didn't want to do this already, but it just follows it up.
Yeah, no problem.
Johnny Oil or Chuck, what's your thoughts on fighting Chara? And what was your headspace before that one?
Well, the thing with Chara, we were winning. I was with Pittsburgh. We're beating Boston pretty bad, and I think it was 5-0. And all my career, I've been chasing Chara to go after him. All my career, and he never wanted to. I remember when we were playing Ottawa, I was chasing Chara on the ice, and he was like, "No, George, I'm not fighting you." So anyway, his team is down 5-0 when Pittsburgh, and he asked me to go. I'm like, "Oh my God, finally!" I wasn't nervous to fight him, even though he was a big guy, because he's known to fight smaller guys, but against big guys, he didn't like to. So we fought, and what he did the thing that we call, he pulled the chute. He grabbed my jersey and he pulled me on top of him. He fell on his back. When he did that, I told the referee, "You're not giving us 5 minutes. That's embarrassing." We're in the penalty bench, and I said, "Chara, you're not going to pull the chute again. You want to fight me? You want 5 minutes? You're going to fight for real. You're going to fight like a man. We're going again." It's like, "No problem." So the referee gave us 2 minutes. We square up again, and he does the same thing. He pulls the jersey, make it look like he lost his balance, goes on his back. Everybody around the league started laughing at him because of that, because guys that plays the game, they know when someone does that, right? They make it look like they lose the balance. I even have the picture of the photograph of the sequence where he pulls me and he goes on his back, like he pulls me back because he didn't want to trade bombs.
I love Chara, so I'm not saying anything. And if Mr. Chara, you hear this, that was George saying that, okay?
But it's the truth. It's actually, I love Chara too.
I know.
But it's the truth.
At the same time, you could change a guy's life if you land one of those. Put your fist up for a second. Like, just look at his fist versus mine. Like, I should put like 2 of mine there. If George hits you, it's like getting hit with a toaster. High Destiny came across there for a second. Did you watch the game last night?
Oh, of course I did. Yes, yeah. I watched them all.
You know what? I had a hard time watching some games. Like, I was on and off. I have to admit, I was on and off. I thought the Montreal Flyers series was a little harder to watch. I thought Islanders Philly was hard to watch. Philly there again. The West, I thought, had a little bit more exciting. But what did you think of last night's game in overall?
Well, last night game sucked. The intensity it was not a good game. It was
No.
not a good hockey game. Like the best team won. You know, Dallas like look hurt. They look tired, and I'm glad that Tampa won because you look what happened last year. You know, and Breeze was adding some grit to this team, and without Stamkos, they win the cup. They never got there with Stamkos. He's not playing, and they win it. So it shows that in a team you need a mixture of talent, speed, grit, and everything. And now Tampa were able to play any type of game you want. You want to play a physical game? They threw 50 hits per game. You want to play a fast game? They have it. Talent? They have it. They had it all. So, you know, I'm glad that Julien Brisebois that got this team back on track. You know, after last year, after what happened, I'm happy for him. I'm happy for Darge, to all the French guys that are there. I'm happy for Mathieu Joseph that played enough game to have his name on the Stanley Cup. He had to play half the game. He played 37. So, and you know, I felt pretty. I felt still a bit bad when I watched a cup like this because in 2006, when we lost to Carolina Game 7, the cup was in the building. I was playing with Edmonton and we lost Game 7. So to look at every time I look at the cup like this, I've never won it, but I came close, and it reminds me this memory still looking at the Carolina guys celebrating, and then we have to wait before we shook their hands. You know, Game 7.
I
Who
know
dreams
you're
of losing Game
celebrating. I
7,
know.
right? Yeah.
But hey, so I'm kind of stuck here. I'm kind of stuck with this. Damien Cox put out a tweet last night, and his tweet was more or less like, "You can't compare this to a regular year. You know, you don't have to travel, you don't have to do a lot of things." And then it was a lot of backlash on Twitter, radio shows, and you went to the Game 7, you lost. Hypothetically, you won. It's still Game 7. It's the 2-month grind. We weren't in the bubble. I don't know how I would live in a bubble for 2 months. I tell you one thing, my teammates would hate me because my family hates me after 2 days in the same house. What do you think was harder? And it's hard because we're not in this one today, but what do you think, your run or this one? What would be the difference for you, and what would you give the advantage to?
I think that Tampa Bay run was way harder. And just so people can understand how hard this was, I'll do a parallel with basketball. Paul George was seeing a psychiatric, and he was taking medication because he was suffering from depression from staying in a hotel all the time. Right. He was driving nuts. Hockey players were not used to staying, like, usually when you're in a hotel, you're on the road. And when you're on the road for too long, you're going crazy. You can't wait to go back home. You know,
that's because we bring 3 pairs of underwear on the 7-day trip.
We do that too. But
air dry.
Yeah, exactly. But you know, when you're on the road, it says that you get the guys together and couple team dinner. And when a road trip is long, after the end, you want to kill each other. So imagine playing playoff hockey when you haven't played hockey for 4 months, for 4 months, and you stand in prison. And you can't do anything but just playing hockey back in hotel, playing hockey back in hotel, not seeing your family, not seeing your kids, not seeing anyone, just living for hockey. This is another psychological again, because you got to go to war every single day and you're alone. You don't have your family around you, you don't have your friend around you, you don't have the normal routine that we used to do, because athletes, we're routine guys. With this routine that we used to do all the time on game day, the day before, stuff that we used to do, and not being in our stuff in hotel all the time for this entire Stanley Cup run, it must have been so much harder. And also there was more team into it. So the extra round that guys had to play. So to me, it's more of a disadvantage.
Okay, that's 2 things I'm going to bring up right there. Stop you for a quick sec. I don't know how I'd be able to live in a hotel with the other teams. That's one thing.
Good point.
You know, especially we'll get to your book, The Unlikeliest of Tough Guys, because you're always smiling, and now I know you're smiling because you want to kill someone. But I'd go around and like slash people on the back of the legs and be like, ha ha ha! And like if they'd catch me sooner or later and beat the snot out of me. So this way, if they didn't catch me on the ice because I don't have 2 shifts, they'd catch me in the hotel. But the other thing, George, that you said, is this is the thing that pisses me off a little bit right now. As the game was going on last night, they kept bringing up all the records that were being beaten by stats wise, most goals, most points. Well, they played a whole, they played a few games before the playoffs actually started. Canadiens, for everyone in Montreal, they played 3 games against Pittsburgh, but that was a 3 out of 5. So it could have been 5 extra games that you're actually playing. And those stats counted towards all of this, which is kind of funny. I don't know why they didn't just call it regular season. And my argument is I think they did that so in case players had bonuses or games played bonuses. I don't know. This is my own thinking in my basement, drinking wine by myself, talking to my phone. I don't understand the reasoning why they would. We're beating Gretzky numbers, Bork numbers. We're beating all these crazy, iconic names over by these teams. Listen, I don't want to take anything away from what the guys did because of everything you just said, how hard it was. And I'm 100% on page with you. But at the same time, it's not the same thing as the guys that have to do it in a less amount of time. So,
well, you know what would have been worse. But I agree with you with the numbers. The numbers are wrong because the amount of a game. For that, I agree with you 100%. But what I would have agreed even more is if it would have been one of the teams that didn't make the playoff that would have won, then it would have been totally wrong. Because the biggest thing what would have happened if a team
like Montreal?
Yeah, if Montreal would have won the cup,
right.
Then you put an asterisk on it because they're actually the last team that qualified. They shouldn't even be in there, right? So it was totally different. So that's why I was happy that at least the two teams that was in the final were teams that were deserving.
Yeah. Who's your? We'll talk about Montreal after. Anyways, I just my rant is to all the players, families, everyone. What a crazy run to be away from your families and everything, like you just said. Was pretty amazing. George, t'as sorti un livre. I can't even say the title in French. I was about to let you speak French for a couple of seconds. I'll say it with a French accent.
Try.
Georges Laraque, unlikely hist of a tough guy. So I'll let you rant a little bit in French. What's the book about? What's it like? I read parts of it. So George and I do events together. George is on every charity event everywhere you go.
So are you. Give yourself credit too. Yeah. Give yourself credit.
No, I'm the guy drinking in the basement talking to you. So tell us about the book.
In French?
Yeah. Pas une couple de minutes. Tu parles en plusieurs Québécois qui sont avec nous autres. Puis tu fais le radio à 91.9. Alors, c'est ton chance.
Oui, mais merci PJ. Ton français est très bon en passant. Je t'écoute dans l'antichambre. T'es très bon dans l'antichambre.
Pas t'es le gars qui m'écoute.
Oui, tout le monde t'écoute. Arrête de niaiser.
Et ma mère.
Oh, merci de me faire rire avant de me coucher. Mais non, j'ai fait un livre. En français, c'est La force d'y croire. En anglais, The Story of the Unlikeliest Tough Guy. J'ai fait un livre sur ma vie parce que quand j'étais jeune, le livre de Jackie Robinson sur l'autobiographie m'a aidé à convaincre le racisme pour me rendre dans la Ligue nationale. Fait que quand j'étais jeune, un de mes rêves, c'était de jouer à la Ligue nationale. Mon deuxième, c'était de faire mon autobiographie pour inspirer d'autres minorités qui souffraient de racisme, pour les inspirer à combattre le racisme à travers le sport, se défouler dans le sport au lieu de se renfermer puis se laisser s'attaquer par le racisme. Donc, je parle de mon histoire parce que ça rejoint beaucoup de personnes dans le sport professionnel qui sont des immigrés qui veulent percer dans un sport, qui sont victimes de racisme, puis des fois, ils ne savent pas comment agir. Donc, c'est pour ça que je voulais partager mon histoire pour inspirer les gens. Pas juste les immigrés, mais les gens qui ont un rêve dans la vie. Si j'ai réussi à passer à la Ligue nationale, puis mon rêve, puis les chances d'y arriver, c'était 0.001001%, les gens qui nous écoutent en ce moment, qui ont un rêve, vous pouvez accomplir ce que vous voulez. Donc, tu sais, je parle de la force de la détermination, la force de croire en un rêve, comment se défoncer pour accomplir quelque chose. Puis grâce à ça, je suis devenu conférencier en plus, puis je fais des conférences à travers le monde. Aussi sur le végétalisme, là, mais beaucoup de conférences de motivation pour inspirer les gens.
On va parler de ça. Mais attends, je veux pas finir de rire pour une seconde.
Aussitôt, as soon as I said vegan, I saw your face.
No, I want to, before I get on, again, I played junior against George in NHL, and George is a big black man in today's world, George. And just a quick second of super seriousness. The movement, Quebec is and Montreal is a proud city when it comes to protesting. And we just, it's something that's finally being brought to everyone's attention. That should have happened a long time ago. And I just, I don't know, it's titled Black Lives Matter, but how the movement, George, how has it been with your family? I have friends of mine that I've reached out to that have to have these discussions with their kids that they didn't want to have them with before, but it's there now. and I mean, a black friend of mine in Toronto was like, I have to have these discussions with my kid because it's out there, it's everywhere right now. And how's it been for your family?
Well, the thing about that is, racism, as people know, has been there for hundreds of years.
Hundred thousands.
And yeah, and the thing is, even from when I grew up and there was racism all around the place, the difference now is that racism, often people will think that it's better. It's funny because people that say it's better is people that are not black. People that are not black, often they'll talk about racism like they know what racism is but you've never lived it every day, so you don't know what it is. The difference is today, as it was before, is today everything's on camera. Everything is on social media. So now every nationality is saying what black people has been talking for so long. Now you sit on camera, you see stuff going on camera, and you're like, oh my God, that's what they have to go through every day. This is what's going on in their life every day. So now that's why with all the atrocity going on that is on TV and everywhere, now everyone is talking against it. Before it was only the black people talking about it. So, other people sometimes were sick of it. They're like, oh, they're exaggerating. They don't know what they're talking about. Like, we know, but obviously some people, they have no idea, right? But now it's nice to see that the world, a lot of people, the majority of people are taking a stand against it for equality. And it's nice to see the world of sport and a lot of different people and a lot of people that are known that are joining the fight to fight for equality and recognizing that some of the stuff that are going out there is so unfair. So that's why this movement was created, to finally maybe try to help some people that are closed-minded, that are part of the problem, because the more people that talks about it, the more, hopefully some of the closed-mind people change, and with time, things will get better.
I don't ever give you compliments, so I'm going to make this quick, okay?
You don't have to, though.
The way you just spoke and the way you talked about your book is something that, if you're someone listening or has a friend, George is a role model that you guys should be looking up to.
Oh, thank you. You make me blush.
No, I don't. I'm giving you like a quick little compliment, and I'm making fun of your veganism, okay? But that was the way you phrased everything there. I wish I have a fat tongue and I mumble and a small brain, but the way you just said everything was perfect. And congratulations for teaching us all. And anyways, that's George. I love you. I love you for that. That is awesome.
Thanks, brother.
Now, so George and I did Battle the Blades together, and every day we'd have there's and Battle the Blades is back, by the way, everybody. It's on CBC starting October 15th. Yeah. It's every Thursday. Great new cast, great new crew, and George and I were on a decade ago together. And George was a vegan at this time, and George was the one that influenced the buffet. So we'd come in after skating for hours and working out and sweating and no sleep, and come in and we go to have our lunch. And George was in charge of the lunch. We'd have tofu balls and kidney beans and more beans and more beans. And he'd look over at George's plate, and he had this mound of just beans and couscous and everything. And then no wonder, I'm surprised actually that you actually had to do a thing on constipation, because if you stick to that diet, there's no way. You should maybe do something on plumbing. That might be your best. Obviously, you don't live out where I live in St. Lazare, because we're on septic. I would change your diet up in a heartbeat. Seriously.
You make me cry because you make me laugh so much. You got to do stand-up.
It's true.
Man.
You make me cry after having all your beans for 6 weeks. I didn't even want to get kicked off the show. I got myself kicked off. My anus got me kicked off the show. It's like, get off the show, PJ.
Oh.
We can't do this anymore.
Okay.
I go to chili. There's this big thing of chili. I'm in there scooping it up, my hands eating it like this, and then it tastes funny. What is it? He goes, well, there's no meat in this. This is a vegan chili.
Hey, PJ, listen to me. Tomorrow, I'm calling everyone from Just for Laugh. You're having a stand-up show there. You're going to make it, man. A second career for you. You're so funny.
I need you to stand on the side while we do veganism. Seriously.
Yeah, but you know what, PJ, you know what? I know we do a lot of events together and we eat all the time. I'm never going to quit on you. I'm going to talk to you about veganism until I convert you. I'll never stop.
Go ahead. Here's your chance. Actually, the movie that came out, Game Changers.
Yes.
Game Changers was awesome. Made me think a lot. I know George and I joke, I'm a meat eater. Like, I have my red wine, my meat, too much. But that show was great to watch. It's not changing me, but it's changed the way I think about a lot of things. And I can just teach myself. But I'm here. George is like way over there. But go ahead. Give me your veganism rant.
Yeah, but okay. First of all, you know that when you eat meat, what happens to your body, right? It stays in your intestine for like weeks and it decomposes in your intestine and that's where all the disease comes from, right? Because animals that are carnivore, they have small intestines. So when they eat, they get rid of it right away. But us, meat, it stays in our body and there's so much bacteria in it, so much HGH, so much chemical. It causes cancer. And, you know, when you eat meat, your body uses 80% of its energy to dissect it. So you're weak. And the older you get, all this energy that your body is using to digest meat, it's energy it loses to fight cancer cell and all the disease that attacks you every single day. So that's why, you know, often when you eat meat, you're tired and you want to go to bed because you're having too much of it. And actually, if you eat meat, you only eat 5 ounces a day. You don't need that. Meat is dead, PJ. It's dead. There's no enzyme, there's no nutrients, there's nothing. It's dead. When the best protein you could have is protein from plants because it's alive. Your body recognizes it in amino acid and it's so easy to digest. You digest much quicker, you have way more energy. Look at all the athletes today that are more and more vegan, that are performing more and more. There's more and more of that stuff, but
I had chili today, George, and I added chicken to it. But I am tired. I'll give you that. Let's go to you're a smart.
You're the only guy that I could talk to you about it, and you could eat a burger at McDonald's when I'm talking to you about all that stuff, and I'd be like, George, keep going. And then you eat a burger like this, and probably eat some like bacon with it too, and just laugh about it. I think that with you, it's a lost cause. I do
like that though. I'm gonna use the intestine. I didn't know that, so I'm gonna actually use that. I'm throwing, but I'm actually taking some of that stuff in. All I know is that animals have smaller intestines. That's what I got right now.
No, animal that are carnivores, they have smaller intestine to get rid of this stuff. Our intestine is so long that when you eat it, it stays in your body much longer than for an animal that is carnivore is. I could go more. You know what? I could go on for hours, but with you, all you're gonna do is you're gonna take some material for your stand up for laugh.
Someone bring me a burger. Double patty. Hey, let's talk about Goon, movie star, Mr. Movie Star. How was that?
Actually, you want a funny story about Goon, right? That's actually pretty funny. When I'm doing the fighting scene with Sean William Scott, right? The guy, he can't skate. Like, Liev Schreiber actually trained for it. He learned how to skate, but Sean William Scott had a double for most of the time. So, but when we fought, he couldn't have a double because it would be too obvious. So with my right arms, I was helping him to stand up because when we would fake fighting, he would fall down. So I would hold him up. So my arms were like straight up and I was holding him up. And the thing is, because he has no balance, when we did a fighting scene, he punched me for real. Because you're supposed to punch from this far away from someone's face. But the first time he clubbed me, I just let him go. He went down with my right arm, and I looked and I was gonna jump him because, you know, like when somebody hits you and then the cord touch and you're like, oh my, what did he just do? And it was on the ground. He was like, George, please don't rape me, don't rape me. He felt so bad. And then I was like, and then I calmed down. I realized that, you know, it was a mistake or whatever, right? You know what happened though? He felt so bad that after we were done doing all the shooting and everything, he invited me to his wedding in Hollywood.
Oh, that's awesome.
I don't even know the guy. What am I gonna do there? You know, going through it. No, but it's just
bar. Have some bean soup. Have a bean salad. Throw some beans in your martini. Let him pay. Stifler. I love Stifler.
Yeah,
Stifler can't skate.
He was actually, but he was funny though because we laughed the entire time when we did this scene, the movie and stuff. So it was awesome. Everybody was awesome on the movie. And actually, Liev Schreiber, what he did is he told me to be in the mind of the real fighter, he watched a lot of videos of Probert, my videos, to have the same mindset of a guy that was a fighter. It was awesome. And actually, PJ, you're gonna like this one. When he came back to Montreal, I met him a couple times, and he came to my raw vegan restaurant that I had at the time, Credescence. And he's pretty close to be vegan, so he
Pretty close.
he was actually listening, and he tried it out.
Carnivore animals have small intestines. I got it. Georgie, we're talking about questions. You brought up fighting. Everyone wants to know if we can fight, whatever. I got a quick story about George. So George, I think you were in Saint-Hyacinthe, right? Saint-Hyacinthe?
Yeah,
You went to Saint-Jean,
yeah.
It was in Saint-Hyacinthe. I was playing left defense at the time. George was playing right wing, and George was this size when he was 3. So he's coming up the left wing, but he's a right-handed shot. And in junior, we just pretty much rim the puck around the boards and hope the wingers just get it. Well, George is on his offside, looking back to get the puck. And George is like the heavyweight champ of the league. And I'm like, I am going to kick the snot out of this guy. I run. I'm thinking I'm going to, just run him over. So, the right D is in front of George like this. And as George is leaning back, I come from the far side. And I hit him with my knees, my elbow. I jump up. I Macho Man him one. And I bounced off. George's head was back. I hit him here. I smashed off him into the boards and fell down and winded myself. He went down on a 2-on-1, and I don't know what happened. I was still on. So that was my learning experience about George. So I never went near George ever. George, best trash talker for Bruce Lee 73.
Best trash talker. Well, you actually a pretty good one, though. I heard from you that you were actually one of the good ones. Burnaby was one, too. Burnaby was like, you always wanted to kill him. Rutu was one, too. Yako Rutu, remember him?
Yeah.
Matt Cook, Colby Armstrong.
Army?
Yeah, Army, too. Maxime Talbot, Max Lapierre.
I know. So Max Lapierre, they're doing a show right now. Him and Guillaume Latendresse.
Yeah.
And I went on with them in the Push Bleu, and I was like, I used to do radio, and I always used to give it to Max, because Max would always come into a tussle, and he'd push you, then he'd make that face like that. And I'm like, you just want to punch him. Like, is he okay? Is he okay? Anyways, it was great. They're doing great stuff, by the way, those two. Dave Brown, this is from T. McMahon 42. Do you have a Dave Brown story?
Yeah, I do. And that's crazy because, when you play junior hockey and you want to play in the NHL, and I know I was going to have to be a fighter, Dave Brown is a guy that, I never wanted to play against, right? Because I remember the story when he fought Stu Grimson, he broke his face. So my first exhibition game in Edmonton, it was against San Jose Sharks, and Dave Brown was there, an exhibition game. I was like, oh my God. It was the first time that I take my visor off from junior hockey because, I'm going to be fighting the NHL. I can wear a visor, right? And Dave Brown is standing in front of me, and I'm like, I got to fight this guy to be in the NHL. I was like, fuck this shit. I'm not fighting him. I was afraid of hell. I was on a face-off, and I was so afraid of him that I was looking between my leg. I could see Cujo, my own goalie, because I wouldn't look at Dave Brown because I didn't want him to think that I wanted to go with him. And I was like, okay, I got to fight somebody else because, obviously I have to fight. It's my first exhibition game. And Frederic Oduya was another top guy that was a rookie too. So I fought him instead of Dave Brown because I was like, okay, if I get one fight with this rookie, then I'm done. I don't have to fight him. And it's funny because that game, Dave Brown scored. I was so happy for him. I almost hugged him because I figured if I hug him, then he's really not going to want me to fight him after. So, but no, I was petrified, man. And when I was 18, my first camp, I couldn't wait to go back to junior because I was like, those are the guys that I have to fight, I'm never going to play in the NHL. It's crazy because, sometimes people look at fighting and think it's so easy, but, it's the hardest job in professional sport. And PJ, that's why I'm going to give you credit.
Take your time. Take your time here.
Okay.
Hold on a second. Hold on. Everybody listen.
Okay.
Everybody listen.
But honestly, everybody listen to this, okay? When I was fighting, I was 6'3", 250 pounds, okay? PJ, listen to this. How tall are you? 5'8", 5'9"?
Fucking 5'10", George, and 1'8".
Okay.
5'10"
Okay.
and 1'8" is like 5'10" and a half.
Okay.
5'10"
Okay.
and a half is like 5'11". 5'11", I'm 6 foot, George. I'm
So
6 foot.
So think about this guy. PJ, every time he's fighting someone, they have 3-4 inches than him and at least 50 more pounds than him. And you know what he did? When he fought, he was trading bombs. He was fighting open with guys. You know, a lot of tough guys, when they fought, they did what Peters did. They went, they're grabbing like the shoulder and punching on guys on the shoulder, not even really fighting for real. You were trading bombs. You were like toe to toe all the time. You were fighting like Nyland, like Cordic, like everyone. And you were a small guy, and you could take a punch too. I've never seen a guy that was able to go toe to toe with a heavyweight, take as many punches as you did, and stay up, smiling and keep going. And you could go forever.
Thanks,
Your stamina for fighting, were like you would go for like a minute. Well, like you had unbelievable stamina. It was crazy. And you know what? And then you know what? When guys fought you, we had everything to lose because of your size. Every time you did a draw, you won because you weren't supposed to win, but you draw and you won because you were like, you'd go with anyone. And that's why a guy like you, the only thing that could happen is that could only look bad because all you have to do is stand there and you win. You win. So you were pretty amazing what you did. Pound for pound, PJ, there was Ty Domi and there was PJ Stock as the best fighters in the NHL. Pound for pound.
Thank you, George. We're going to go to commercial break now as we...
But I mean it, though. I mean it.
You know what you said, though, about it being such a... Thanks, George. You're the best. About being a tough job. The game's changed. I'm kind of... I kind of miss it. I miss it being in the game. I understand why it's not in the game anymore, and we all understand why it's not in the game anymore. But it was so hard. Like you're talking about fighting Dave Brown that one night, and your first night, you're so nervous, and that was our life every night. Yeah. Even though you're, like you said, it's every night. You're nervous. Sleeping the night before you go to bed, you're obviously before the game, you go to bed, you're a mess. And then it was just, I miss it. I'm happy people don't really have to go through that whole ordeal of, there's a lot of guys that ended up in some bad positions because of it. But personally, I miss it in the game. Like, I miss that entertainment. Like, I watched that game yesterday, and you mentioned before it was boring. It's been some boring hockey the last little while.
I agree.
I just don't want to see guys getting overly punched in the head too much to kind of make me happy. But there's got to be a happy medium somewhere in there.
Yeah, but you're right. You're right.
But
you're right. With the physicality a bit out of the game, it changed the game a lot more. And back then when there was more physicality, crowds, you could feel the energy in the crowd. Like people were up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, totally. Crowd was. I mean, the crowd was crazy. It was just. I mean, you felt like we talked about it. We're joking, but there's two guys fighting at center ice for every other reason besides the writers that write about it. That's what I hate about it. The writers that are writing about it that want it out or whatever don't have a clue as to why that moment is happening.
Yeah.
But it just there's 20,000 people watching that moment.
Yeah.
It's an ISO of a couple minutes of your life that is like, wow. It was very special. Thanks for the kind words, George. Anyways, Rocket Trier and Gizzard were asking about fighting. Best tracker was Rod Sill, 1981. We're going to move on to Habs in a second here, but your favorite Hab moment? My only goal that I scored for the Montreal Canadiens, because it was the first game I played after the earthquake happened in Haiti. And when that happened, it was one of the first few times that I prayed before that game so I could score a goal to dedicate it to all the Haitian people in Montreal that lost someone close in Haiti. And when I scored and we won that game, I dedicated that goal to all the Haitians that lost someone close in Haiti when the earthquake happened. So to me, it was the most emotional moment that I had in Montreal because it was a goal that meant way more than my first goal in Montreal with the Montreal Canadiens. It meant a goal that was able to dedicate
when I talked to the media after, because it was close to my heart. My parents were born in Haiti. So when this happened, everything happens for a reason. And, another great thing that happened is I got released January 21st by the Montreal Canadiens. When I got released, the first thing that I did, I joined with the NHLPA. The NHL raised a few millions to go back to Haiti and to get Haitian to rebuild the hospital that got crashed during the earthquake. So I was able to do something that was much more important than playing hockey, to give back to my country of origin. So, when you talk about stars being aligned to be able to do great things and continuing to do so when you're blessed, that's why I have to talk about that moment.
It's funny. I have a sick brother, so sometimes, or had a sick brother. Sorry, so, there's all kinds of those sayings. You just used one about something happens for a reason or whatever. I don't know, but you're so true about that. Why it happens to you at that moment. And you also not only stopped there, George, you taught ball hockey. You brought the Haitian team to
yeah.
So you
Switzerland. Yeah.
You did a lot of amazing stuff, and this is kind of one of the reasons why I love having you on. Hockey's one thing, and you and I were lucky to be able to play and play at that level with some great people, but we're able to be put on a platform once this is all done, and kudos for everything that you're doing to make everything better in this world by using that platform. One of the things was we're all struggling right now. We'll finish up on Canadiens, so I'll leave a little bit of time, but quickly, during all this, that's not a joking matter. You got sick, because there's been a lot of tough people that have got sick and different struggles. But go ahead, talk to us about your experience with COVID.
Okay. Well, first of all, I have to admit that at the beginning, I thought maybe COVID was a bit of a hoax. Okay. I didn't believe that it was this serious, right? I was like, it's only for old people. And I was like, I thought it was blown out of proportion. So what I decided to do when this happened, I volunteered. I did as many stuff as I could to help out people. I was doing delivery for elderly people. I was doing everything. Like, you need me there, I was going there. And I even signed up. I signed up the program to work inside a CHSLD to help elderly change their diapers and stuff like this. I was going to do all that. On the Monday, actually on the Sunday, because on the Monday I was supposed to work on CHSLD. I called the girl on Sunday and I said, you know what? I don't think I can come the next day because I'm having a hard time to breathe and I have a cold, I think. So I'm not doing good. So she thought I was actually making it up because I didn't want to come. I backed out. And I was like, no, I don't feel good. So I go to the hospital and I said, yeah, my throat, I have a hard time to breathe because I'm asthmatic. And the hospital, they didn't want to do the COVID test at first. They just gave me some pills. They're like, oh, you're fine. So I go home and then it was getting worse. And I went back to the hospital again, the second time on a Thursday. And I was like, okay, I'm delivering food to elderly people. So I need to know if I have something, because if I'm contagious, I need to let them know, because some of them that I'm feeding, they have cancer. So I could kill them if I have something serious, right? So they do a test and they told me I have COVID. And I was like, oh my God, I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe that I got it. And then I'm at the hospital there and they give me some oxygen because I have a hard time to breathe. And then I'm standing there, I'm like, okay, well, I guess I could go home and go on confinement. And like, no, you got to go to the hospital to be plugged to oxygen tank. So they put me in an ambulance and I go to the hospital in this room with two other elderly people that were pretty much dying of COVID. I'm in there, the youngest guy in the hospital. And I'm like, I was thinking that this thing was a hoax. And I'm sitting there, the youngest guy in the hospital, like having to deal with that. So thankfully, I recovered pretty fast. And after 3 days, I was able to go back home and finish the confinement at home. And actually, and keep my running too, because, I'm training for a marathon.
Yeah.
So a week after I was back from the hospital, I was running 10, 20 Ks. I was fine. So it only took me about a week to recuperate from it. And I felt I was 100% after that. So, but as you said, Paul Gagne helped me out a lot too also when I did that. So it made a big difference. The breathing exercise that I was doing that made you laugh, they actually worked a lot to clear up my lungs.
Okay, George, now breathe. Breathe out. I watched this. It's like I watched this. I'm watching. I'm like, I'm like, this is my sandwich. Eat out, George. Breathe in, George.
Did you try those?
Big roast beef sandwich. I think it was still moving on this side. I was like, trying to get the fat off it.
Actually, you know what? You would have laughed if you would have found me at the hospital, because at the beginning, when they were bringing me food, right? They bring me those, you know, those mashed potatoes that you make in the microwave with powder and that shitty food. The food they gave me looked like it had COVID. So I was like, are you kidding me? If I eat that, I'm going to stay there for another month. So I wasn't eating anything. So when I did a post and I was like, the food is terrible, I can't eat that, people start sending me food, vegetables, and nuts to the hospital and stuff, because I wasn't eating anything, because everything that were giving me was bad. Because, you know, even though I'm sick, when you're vegan, right, and you eat the right nutrients, you recover much faster than eating the crap that you eat every single day.
Whoa, it's not crap. So hold on. If I complain about how I'm eating right now, people will send me food. I'm malnourished. I need steak. I need some ribs. If anyone has a pork chop lying around, I live in St. Lazare, just down. George, wrap it up. Montreal Canadiens. Bergevin was on with our buddy Tony Marinaro today. You put a tweet out today that you're saying he didn't really give you much.
Hold on, you're freezing up on me right now. You're freezing up. Say that again.
I'm not free. I said our buddy Tony Marinaro had Mark Bergevin on the radio today.
You're free.
And you tweeted out later on today saying that he didn't really give enough, or give a ton, if I forget what it was. What was your thoughts on it?
On what is the first part? Because now you unfroze the first part of the question,
froze?
because you froze.
Is my face frozen?
Yeah, now it's okay now. The first part of the question, it froze, so now you're back to normal.
Do I look good?
Say that again. Yes, awesome.
Hold on.
You look perfect, like ready to be in a GQ magazine.
What do you think of Bergevin on with Tony Marinaro today?
I thought that, you know, the thing is, I don't know if he's preparing everyone to explain. If he can get anyone, is going to say, well, I told you that, you know, a guy, I don't want him to my team to get this right winger to play with Suzuki. Or if he's setting up, like, in the fact that we don't think he's going to do anything, and if he does, we're all going to see he's a genius. Because the thing is, Bergevin and even Petrie, before he signed, he said that we need a big forward that could score and that could play in a power play and go in the corners, right? And everybody knows that this big right winger that we need. But, you know, he said he doesn't want Patrick Lane. So I hope that he's going to get something really good to play with Suzuki. I was hoping it'd be Manta. I know he's working on something, but I don't know what it is. But it can be like a plan B or plan C, like he's been doing in the last couple of years, because the windows for the Canadiens to win is 4 years because of Price and Weber. They're in their prime right now, right? You have 4 wins to win, so you need somebody that helps you now.
And Petrie.
Yes. With all of them, they have 4 years to win. Yeah. So you need somebody right now that can contribute right now. So if he says no to Lane, because I think that don't you think that with Domi, Caulfield, and the first pick, the Jets would say yes?
Domi's not on contract. I think I know they, first of all, hi, Julie Scully. I've been just reading it while you were going on there, George. Saying hello to a couple people, and added photo. I think they really want to get rid of Laine in Winnipeg for reasons. He's a big gamer, and he stays up all night, and the team tracks him, and he's got in trouble for it. And they've asked him to stop it. He got caught the night before a playoff game. The team can't win. He goes cold. A couple months, he gets 2 goals in a month. Then he gets 15 the next month, then 3. Like, he's too good, but he's young. He gets 30 goals in a bad year. You know, so he's going to ask for 9-10 million. If we're locked up at center, George with Suzuki and KK and hopefully Dano as a 1-2-3, you need someone to score. And you're not paying your centers for the next few years. You might as well, I'd spend the money. If he's going to get you 30 goals, but makes your power play better and makes makes maybe Gallagher go to the 2 spot or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
Whatever. It makes your team deeper. Yeah, you got to overpay and maybe give to get something, but your defense is kind of locked up. Your goaltending's locked up.
Yeah.
Your 3 guys down the middle are locked up. Spend some bacon on the sides. You need goals.
Yeah, I wouldn't use the word bacon, but yes, I would. I'm teasing you, but yeah, they changed the power play. You get it. You get him on one side, Weber the other side. It would change everything. The power play is Montreal's been killing him for the last couple of years. They can't score in a power play. They're 0 for 5 all the time. They get no goals. There's no one on the team that could be a game breaker. You know, Montreal plays so many close, tight games, but there's nobody that could just put the puck in the net. A guy like that would change everything. And last year, defensively, it was one of his best years. He finished +7. When you and if you play with Suzuki is a good 2-way forward also. So he could come back with him more, and Laine stays up a bit. Defensively, he's not always too reliable, but man, it would change this team for sure. And
you even put a guy on the wing with them that they're like. I played with Gretz. My total me and Wayne are back there. Which is no biggie. I don't have to bring that up. Wayno and I like that. So, you know, he was the centerman, but Nicholas Sundstrom did all the work down low. Like, Laine could float. If Laine is going to get 35, 40 goals, go ahead. I'm going to have a guy on that line covering for you down low all the time. And that's kind of – and you got your big defense. You got your goal you're paying $10 million. He's going to get in the zone, might be the last guy in the zone. But once the puck gets in the other team's zone, you know, now that first set of defense on the other team has to match up against him, which now puts the other guys in a different position. So it'll be interesting. I hope they do something. You know, I'm getting tired of I really want Montreal to win. I want them to be successful, as much as it's fun making fun of all the crazy hat fans that are just flat out crazy. They are. I just want them to do well for the city, especially at the time that it is right now.
Yeah.
Jeez, go spend some money. Like, trade your draft picks. You can't draft. Just go. You know, your best players.
They have 14 draft picks coming up, like in this draft. They don't need them all. Like, how many prospects do you want? You know, some prospect they hit and miss. Now you got 2 great ones with Suzuki and Kotkaniemi. How many more you want? Peeling is not working out. So, you know, there's not a guarantee that if you pick.
You got Romanoff on the back end, Fleury on the back end, maybe Kulak. That's depth. You got your 4 big guys. You got, you know, Weber and Petrie locked up. You have
Chara
locked up. And just on Edmondson, there's your 4 with 3 younger guys behind it. You have a goalie locked up. You got 3 young guys down the middle. Like, you don't need – where are your picks going to be? You got Cofield potentially coming in. Yeah. I don't know. I'd get rid of all my draft picks, all of them this year, to bring in 2 guys that can score. Yeah.
Oh, I would do that too, because for the future, they have the 2 centers locked up for the years to come.
Yeah. All right, George. I'm out of wine. I need a burger. What do you put on your pizza?
Actually, I don't eat gluten also, so I don't eat pizza. Right now,
what? You're ruining my night. You're absolutely ruining my night.
I'm training for my 3rd marathon, so I gotta watch with the way that I eat, right? Because I gotta run, like, starting this week, I'm running 100K a week. So I'm running a lot, so I gotta watch my diet and how I eat, right?
If I do
Actually, how about you follow me with a moped and give me some water?
I'll sit beside you. You know what? I'll do it. If you do a marathon, I'll sit beside you and squirt water in your mouth. Like, you can do it, big guy. You can do it.
It's gonna be my 3rd, actually. Actually, why don't you do it with me?
I have flat feet, George. I have flat feet. That's part of my problem. I got no arch there. But you know what? When's the next one? When's this one?
September next year.
Oh, next year.
Yeah, next year, yeah.
Oh, I can run a marathon in 3 weeks. No, give me a year. Are you kidding me? I'll run back-to-back marathons and have a burger in between.
Deal?
Let me have some more drinks, and then we'll discuss it. George, you're the best. Be good.
Thank you, bro.
Check him out at 91.9.
Hey, look forward to see you. Look forward to see you in the next charity work.
Thanks, buddy. See you, Georgie.
Thanks, bro.